Well, hey there. I was meditating this morning, and I know that, I feel like you're not really supposed to determine whether it was like a good meditation or like a not good meditation. Like it's just like letting all of that go, right? Uh, but if I could pick it back up again for just a second, it was a really good meditation. For me, a really good meditation is when I can get into that place of just kind of like stepping back from my thoughts and stepping back from the controls and there is sort of almost like an out of body experience where you just kind of like rise out of the driver's seat and then you just kind of allow. And I feel like that for me is the state that I kind of like I most want to achieve in meditation. I think because it's like when I get into that state, I really get the most insight. I feel like I really connect with my intuition when I get to that state, and I also feel like uh, there's like an understanding of where the energy is in my body, if that makes any sense. Like I can feel where energy is, kind of like where it's stuck, or like where I'm carrying. For example, like if I'm feeling anxiety, like where am I feeling that? Like where is that located in my body? And usually it's like right in the middle of my chest, and I can physically feel it. And when I'm not meditating, I can physically feel it. But when I'm meditating, I'm feeling it in a really informed but curious way. Meaning that like I'm a little more objective about it. I'm kind of like looking at this feeling and kind of like experiencing it as an observer. And so I feel like I'm able then to do something with it, you know? And that's, I mean, particularly having dealt with anxiety for so many years, having a tool to be able to go in and like find where the anxiety is in your body and be able to kind of like work it out. I mean, it's interesting. It's really just focusing on releasing it, and focusing on bringing your attention to it. And I find that that's how you release it, is by bringing your attention to it and then just like essentially like just feeling the fuck out of it. Like that's kind of how I always look at it. Is like, all right, I'm here. Let's feel this shit. Like let's just do this. It always kind of has this like surge because I'm so used to fighting this feeling off. Really, I think what it kind of must be similar to is um, jumping off a really high cliff into like a river, you know? I feel like I would normally probably get up to the edge and be like, no, I'm not. No, I'm going to go climb back down. Like, I don't want to do this because I'm afraid of heights and I'm afraid of not so much, falling to my death, but I think I'm just afraid of jumping off into the abyss and then just kind of like trusting, everything else to just kind of happen to me because I'm completely out of control at that point. It's the same sensation here. I avoid having to kind of jump off the cliff, so to speak, into feeling my anxiety because it's just like, is this just going to like consume me? Because it feels like it. At first, it does feel like it kind of is consuming you, um, but it kind of burns off really quickly. It's really interesting. It's like, yeah, you have to really feel it, but then when you really start to feel it, it's like you metabolize it really fast. And I do in that state, in meditation, in that really kind of like observer state, I'm able to burn off that anxiety really quickly. This is probably the first time we really talked out loud about this process that I go through in meditation. And I guess I have to find other people who do this. I need to go start asking questions. I'm positive I'm not the only person. Like I know that I've picked this up from things that I've seen and read, and so I just kind of want to find a framework around this, whatever I might call this, or whatever people who can do this call this. And normally I find myself doing that kind of work, that work with uncomfortable emotions. Like I'm just so used to that. I think a lot of us are. I think we're so used to focusing on like what's wrong, what doesn't feel good, because like that, that kind of hits our nerves harder. That's what lasts longer. Like we don't remember the stuff that feels good as well as remember the stuff that doesn't feel good. I know that I've been very attached to my pain. I think that was a big part of last year, was really releasing an identity. I mean, to be honest, I was releasing like this persona that I was playing, the sort of ego-based persona. The way that I was always look at it was, I'm just trying to get my shit together. Like that was my story. That was my tagline. I'm just trying to get my shit together. Like it was always about my life falling apart. And I kind of see this a lot with people, and maybe it's just because social media allows us to just constantly express ourselves, but I feel like there's something kind of trendy about being a mess. like there's something sort of seductive about it. I mean, for me, it's absolutely seductive. I love, in a way, I love being a mess. I love the attention that I get for it. I love the sort of the romantic idea of just like, the weight of the world on your shoulders, and it's all you can do to get to the Trader Joe's wine store and like, get a couple bottles of $2 Chuck and go home and like binge on Netflix or whatever kind of like stories that we tell of the mess lives that we lead. I don't think that this is inaccurate. I don't think it's inauthentic. I don't want to judge it. Because I think that's the last thing people who are experiencing that need is like judgment, because they're already judging the fuck out of themselves. You're in that headspace of I'm just a mess. I mean, for example, it's like you kind of glorify your Twitter, or not your Twitter, Tinder failures. It's like it's all about this dirtbag on Tinder, or this crazy girl on Tinder, or whatever app you're using, Grindr, or whatever else people are using these days. Do people still use Match.com? Is that a thing? Kind of glorifying your dating disasters. There's always kind of like that coy confessional about like what you ate for dinner last night, and it always involves like half a block of cheese and a bunch of Triscuits and some cookie dough, half a bag of snow peas because you want to get your vegetables in. Like I don't really know what it is. I don't really know. I mean, I kind of think it's playing this. I don't want to say damsel in distress, because it's men and women, obviously. I mean, this character of the mess. What I've discovered for myself is that by attaching to this idea, by attaching to this character of I just need to get my shit together, I will never actually get my shit together, because if I did, I wouldn't be the person just trying to get their shit together anymore. And having all of that would be a complete loss of identity. I wouldn't even consciously process how much that scared me. I would shut it down before I even knew that doors were being closed. I would have thrown away the key before I ever even saw what was behind all of those doors. You know what I mean? And so what all this has to do with meditation is that I was meditating this morning, and I was getting to that really great headspace. And I was meditating on really like just the fact that everything is fine in my life right now. And I've been so attached to the idea that like where I am in my life right now, that everything is in transition and everything is kind of in flux and I'm still figuring things out. Like this is such a great opportunity for me to be that person again who's trying to get their shit together. It's like now, like Colin trying to get his shit together, West Coast edition. Colin just trying to get his shit together, health coach edition. It's this character that I want to apply to my life now. There's really no place for this character anymore in the life that I want to have. Like it will completely derail me ultimately. I think that to determine that everything is fine, it's both a reflection on everything around me that literally is fine right now, and it's also determining that everything is fine so that everything can continue to be fine. And so that I can continue to find the things in my life that confirm that, because like your reality is what you look for. Your reality is what, you determine what your day is going to be, you determine what your reality is, and then you only see the evidence that confirms that reality. There is so much information around you right now, and you are only able to pick up at any moment a percentage of that. And so you're only going to pick up the things that align with the story in your mind of what the hell's going on right now. And so I am just choosing to see other things to back up and to confirm a different mindset and a different reality for myself. And what I learned in meditation this morning was how much that scared the shit out of me. I mean, I'm really glad to have come to that conclusion, because I feel like I discovered some like, crack in the foundation that would have just kind of crumbled the entire house eventually. And I feel like I discovered it in enough time that I could go in there and I could do that same work that I do with like the anxiety energy, where I just go in there and I bring my attention to it and I feel my way through the fear of being happy. And like, what is it that scares me about being happy? And like, the answer came so quickly, and it feels almost kind of obvious that it's the vulnerability, which of course to me is always kind of like the sign. That's always the hint that you're onto something, is like, oh, I'm feeling super vulnerable. And it's like, okay, yep, good sign. Being really happy and being in gratitude and being joyful felt very vulnerable and feels very, very vulnerable, because I feel like then you're not watching to make sure that nothing happens. When the reality is that way of seeing the world and looking for things that are going to happen and derail you you're only going to find things that are going to derail you. You're only going to find things that are going to sabotage you because you are insistent on that reality. And so I've had to really let go of all of the security because I get something out of this. I get a security out of this. Is somebody really mowing the lawn while I'm filming a video? Could this be happening? They're like right outside my window. There's not even really any grass growing. I'm gonna power through, and you are not gonna sabotage me, lawnmower. Not today. Take 2 seats. So these things happen, you know? And if I was having a negative mindset, I'd be like, this is ruining everything, I'm filming something, I'm almost done, and now this lawnmower shows up and ruins it. Right? Like, it'd be so easy to use this as like an example that I can't even film a video. But, I don't know, because I've chosen to have an open, positive mindset, it's not that big a deal to me. I kind of already made my point, so I'm good. I'm just wrapping shit up at this point. I'm just trying to find a good closer. And I think that this is the perfect one. So maybe I should just go make some breakfast.